Hello and welcome from Budapest. This is Hungary Reports from Public Media M1, bringing you the latest news from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin in English. I'm Apat Szőci. Thanks for joining us. A record high number of COVID-19 cases occurred in Hungary on Saturday, with 292 people coming down with the virus, the highest number in the country since the pandemic started. It's now mainly young adults who are getting it. Fortunately, because of their age, most have mild symptoms, if any, with few needing hospitalization. The country's chief medical officer also points out that it's still very important to maintain hygiene.
People can only enter St. John's Hospital after filling out a questionnaire and having their temperature taken, and even in this case, only if absolutely necessary, as visits to the hospital have been banned since Friday due to the coronavirus. However, fathers can be present at births and children can be visited by a relative. This is the senior citizens' home in Felső-Tárkány. Here as well, entry is only allowed after people's temperature is measured. Wearing a mask is mandatory and visits are only allowed at certain times. These restrictions have been introduced for the safety of the elderly. Precautionary measures became necessary as the number of newly infected hit a record high in Hungary. 292 people were diagnosed with coronavirus in one day, which is the highest number since the outbreak of the epidemic. The good news is no one has died due to the virus in the past days. Currently, the sickness mainly affects the younger generation, whose symptoms are milder. Therefore, fewer people need hospitalization. The chief medical officer, Cecilia Müller, told Public Media's M1 News. Since one of the biggest problems is that the virus is being brought into the country from abroad, new travel restrictions will come into effect on Tuesday. Non-Hungarian citizens will not be allowed in the country, except for very exceptional cases. And Hungarians returning from other countries will have to quarantine for 2 weeks or present 2 negative coronavirus tests within 48 hours between testing. Most confirmed cases had come from abroad. This is what the rector of Semmelweis University told our network. Béla Merkeli pointed out that the number of coronavirus infections could multiply in the coming period.
Az elmúlt 3-4 hétben.
In the past 3-4 weeks, it has become more and more difficult to trace back the infection's country of origin, the rector said. He emphasized an infected person could be anywhere in our surroundings. Therefore, it is very important to wear a mask and keep your distance.
The reformed public school in Kecskemét in central Hungary was where the symbolic national school year opening was held. It's just one of thousands of learning institutions that will reopen after Hungary had switched to online learning almost half a year ago because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, about 1.5 million students can return to their actual schools. The Minister of Human Resources, Miklós Kásler, said that even though digital instruction worked well, it's still good news that teachers and students are back in the classroom.
While the little ones prepared with poems and nursery rhymes, the older ones work out their own show for the national school year opening of the reformed public school in Kecskemét. This is how they welcomed the soon-to-be first graders, and the school board took all the necessary precautions. Everyone had to keep a safe distance of 1.5 meters. Adults had to wear a mask at the ceremony, and these rules will apply for the future as well. The school principal is optimistic. He says that they are well prepared for the new school year. Wearing a mask is a bit of a challenge, but everyone will deal with it, and I think that working together and following the rules is most important, Attila Tóth said. The mayor of Kecskemét said that much was learned in the recent months, as digital education was a success, although it doesn't substitute face-to-face interactions. That's why they're happy that everything will go back to normal now. The school doesn't just provide knowledge or education. A school is a community where even lifelong friendships and love can form, the mayor noted. At the National School Year opening, the Minister of Human Resources said that in the summer the government has spent almost 13 million euros on renovations so far, which helps the start of the school year and protects against the pandemic. Miklós Kásler reminded that all schools received recommendations on how to start teaching as safely as possible in case the situation changes. The minister added that it's going to be the year of school, gym, and educational swimming pool developments. They will not only support institutions, but families as well.
House roofs were torn off, trees were uprooted, and branches were strewn everywhere when a sudden storm tore through western Hungary and Pest County on Saturday. In just minutes, a large amount of rainfall and hail the size of eggs caused a lot of damage.
The ice landed loudly on piers and splashed into fishing ponds on Saturday afternoon. Within seconds, thousands of egg-sized hail had fallen from the sky. The impacts created waves up to 20 centimeters high. Fishermen ran to hide under eaves for safety. The storm hit so fast that they didn't even have time to pack up their equipment, with the hail causing significant damage. There was a similar situation in the village too. There the hail was the size of peanuts. The ice almost fully covered gardens and damaged cars and rooftops as well. In Győr-Moson and Sopron County, water flooded through the streets of Rába-Patona, filling ditches. Streets were empty and visibility was poor. The rainstorm came with strong winds that broke up branches and tore down trees. In Újkér, cars, houses, and fruit trees were destroyed by the sudden downpour of hail the size of tangerines. The storm hit with strong winds also. Győr got its fair share of the weather too. There even supercells formed. The sky was almost black and the rolling clouds were a frightening sight. Streets went twilight dark. Excessive rain and hail fell within minutes, and the temperature fell by 10 degrees. Hail the size of walnuts and small eggs fell in Szombathely. This footage was made by the owner of the house. The storm left serious damage to plants and flower pots in the garden. In Gencsapáti, so much hail fell that the gardens of houses looked like it was winter. Grass was covered by a continuous layer of ice that remained for a long time even after the storm. Rescue organizations in Budapest were alerted to many places across Pest County. Trees were knocked down in more than 30 locations in Good. Some cars were overturned, fences were torn down, roofs were ruined, and in some places traffic came to a standstill. Down power lines also led to power outages. Hungary's disaster management was called to respond to 223 cases across the country by Saturday at midnight. Firefighters worked all night, but even so, they were still needed at 100 locations until Sunday.
On occasion of National Flag and Coat of Arms Day, thousands of Hungarians celebrated with a huge Hungarian flag in downtown Budapest. They also used the opportunity to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Treaty of Trianon, which saw Hungary lose 2/3 of its territory and 1/3 of its Hungarian population after the First World War.
The 1848-meter-long flag was unfurled along with the help of traditionalists this year in Budapest on Andrássy Avenue. More than 1,000 people carried the flag and walked from the Opera House to Híradó Square. Many came to see the extraordinary event from the capital and the countryside as well. We registered for the event as I think it's a great initiative. Unfortunately, people don't talk much about this, that we should be proud of this flag and our unity. We speak one language in the Carpathian Basin and we stand together, this participant said. A huge cockade was formed by participants on Híradó Square, as is tradition. They paid tribute to the day of the Hungarian flag and coat of arms and commemorated the 100th anniversary of the Treaty of Trianon that Hungary was forced to sign. Nation-states are seriously being attacked nowadays, and we thought let's show at least once a year that we do think in terms of the nation, the head organizer said. The event was supposed to take place on March 14th, however, due to the coronavirus, it had to be postponed.
Buda, the western part of today's Hungarian capital, celebrated one of its most prosperous periods in the Middle Ages under the reigns of Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund and Mátyás Hunyadi. You can see an exhibition on how the city thrived under them at the Budapest Castle Museum, which includes many archaeological digs and works by Italian artist Andrea del Verrocchio, who was commissioned by Hunyadi. And the State Forest Railway in Csomödér in western Hungary is the longest narrow-gauge railway line in the country, measuring 109 kilometers. No more than 1/3 of that is devoted to passenger rail service, with most of the rest used for lumber transport. The line travels through some gorgeous scenery and settlements, which also attract tourists. And it's not uncommon for them to also catch sight of some forest fauna. And that's all for today, but we're back live again every night at about 11:20 p.m. Central European Time, and you can always catch us in repeats and online as well. Please stay tuned if you can. We also have programs in German, Russian, and Chinese. Thanks very much for watching, and viszontlátásra.